G'day everyone, how you doing? It's Lawrence, aka the Kiwi, back with another video. So, over the last couple of videos, there's been a pretty common question asked, and that is, if God is this all-loving, caring, kind, peaceful, divine entity, then why is there so much debauchery on this planet? Why is there the wars? Why are there people starving and living in poverty? Why are people being murdered? Why are there massacres where, many people get killed or murdered? And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be explaining to you how this works in depth. This is also something that you're not going to hear from many spiritual leaders, yogis, gurus, or anybody along that lines. I'm still really yet to hear it. Actually, I do believe Alan Watts might have talked about this, to be quite honest with you. And in this realm that we live in, okay, there are fundamental laws that we have to live by. A good example of a fundamental law that is completely and utterly unavoidable is the law of gravity. What goes up has to come down. There's a fundamental law that we have to live by here. Another fundamental law that we have to live by here in this realm, this planet, this solar system realm that we live in, is time. We can't escape time. Right now, it's 2:30 on a Friday. I took today off to catch up with a bunch of stuff and time's slipping away. Another fundamental law that we have to live by on this planet, which is not taught, yet it's right before our eyes, in front of everybody, is balance. Everything on this planet is about balance. It's how we should be living our lives. Part of the reason why you are seeing so much debauchery, the massacres, the famines, the poverty, all this sort of stuff, is our planet is unbelievably out of balance today. And the biggest offender in regards to this out of balance is actually Western society. So, what I have to tell you is that this planet, solar system, realm, whatever you want to call it, that we live in, brings balance to the entire galaxy. There's 7 realms out there. We bring balance to those other realms. Okay? And if we are about balance, then how does that play out right before our eyes? Well, here's a good example of balance. I'll take this pen. It's sitting on the counter. I lift it up, I let it go. It falls to the ground. Where there is an up, there is a down. Where there's a left, there's a right. Where there's an in, there's out. Where there is hot, there is cold. Where there is day, there is night. Where there is a male, there is a female of the species. And so on and so forth it goes. We live in a world of balance. And sincerely, the reason why everything is so whacked out today, why it looks like the planet's becoming bipolar, which it actually is because everything is so out of balance. People aren't living their lives in accordance to nature. They're not living in balance with the world around them. A good example, I'll use famines. Okay, famines are a wonderful example of this absolute chronic out of balance. And in today's world, we produce enough food that will feed over 21 billion people. Yet you're told that there's a food shortage, that there's all this chaos going on in the world, that we can't feed everybody and everything like that. No, Google it. We produce enough food to feed over 21 billion people. That was the number I remember seeing a little while ago. The majority of that food ends up in Western society. outside of a few Asian countries, and then the rest just gets dispersed out to the other countries. You see, the majority of the world is just worrying about where their next meal is going to be coming from. But in Western society, the majority of that food that could feed 21 billion people gets wasted. So over here, we have an incredibly opulent society that thinks nothing of throwing anything out. Trash. You only have to go to the local supermarket. As soon as it hits an expired date, that food is out in the trash. Go and take a look at the dumpsters out the back of any supermarket. Every night they are packed full of perfectly good food. A lot of that food actually ends up at churches and food drive banks, at least in this community, where the poor and poverty-stricken actually come and get that supposedly expired food and actually will eat it. But the majority of it gets wasted. So if we've got this incredibly opulent society that has no problem wasting all this food, what is the reverse of that? What is the balance of that? It's famine. I mean, science has even proven this. Quantum physics, it's scientifically been proven that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Plain and simple. So, however we are living here in Western society, the actual reaction to that is the exact opposite in a different part of the world. Okay, another good example is, let's say, poverty. You know, you've got all these poverty-stricken regions around the world. Okay, again, in our society, we live extremely well, unbelievably well. I know people that have a good example is, straight up, a good example is my ex-wife. She's got a magnificent home in Nashville, Tennessee. It's about 3,500, 4,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, multi-level. I mean, it's a mansion. It's huge. And she lives in it all by herself. She doesn't need a house like that. It blows my mind. It blows my daughter's mind. But that's what she wants. But the cause and effect of that is that's just one, not just one person. That's millions of people throughout just the United States alone, let alone Canada, New Zealand. New Zealand is an incredibly opulent society. The standard of living in New Zealand is off the charts. So what's the cause and effect of that? What is the opposite of people living in an extremely opulent way? Poverty. People living in ghettos. People living in just squalor. The world has become incredibly out of balance. And that's why you see this debauchery going on. Now, the issue that I have with this is there's no real teaching about this stuff going on. Because the beauty, and this is where the teaching is, the beauty in seeing this, once you can actually see this, you wouldn't actually know that you are living in an opulent society if there wasn't the poverty over here. You wouldn't know how well fed you are if there wasn't images of people that are dying in the streets of other countries from famine. You see, we need this balance so we can reflect upon ourselves. Like those people that are fighting for their lives, that are starving in the streets, that are dying, that are homeless, that are just, you know, like in the Ukraine, people are fighting for their lives now in many, many ways. They wouldn't know what it's like to fight for their lives and live that way if it wasn't for people that are living like we do. We are reflections of each other, and without the other, we wouldn't know who we are. A good example, okay? You hop in your vehicle. You want to go down the road. Now imagine how difficult it would be if your vehicle would only turn to the left and go straight. It wouldn't turn to the right and there was no reverse. it would be a nightmare for you to try to get to where you needed to go. You need that opposite so you can see where you need to go. You turn to the left, oh, I need to take a right turn here. These things play out in our lives, in everything that we do. And I mean everything. So it's no different. Let's say the whole world was just a whole bunch of hermaphrodites. You know, hermaphrodites are creatures that have sex with themselves and can birth their own offspring. Snails are hermaphrodites. If there was no male or no female, we wouldn't know who we are. We need the reflection of the other so we can understand ourselves. That's where the lesson is. Like, I've had to deal with a whole bunch of people going clean off at me for no reason at all. People that I become a mirror of everything that they hate about themselves. I understand this mirroring stuff like nothing else on earth. I'm a Libra. I was born under the scales. I understand balance. And because of my human design, I understand mirroring. So without having the opposite, you're not going to know who you are. You're not going to learn about yourself. You're not going to see what it is that you don't like about yourself. Everything about being here is waking up to your consciousness. So everything that is going on in your life, okay, let's say for argument's sake, you have a big issue with the poverty in the world. That poverty, because you're so focused on that poverty, you actually are having a problem with how you are living. You're actually guilty of how you live. A perfect example of that is, let's say, like Oprah Winfrey. Okay, Oprah Winfrey just lives up the road here in Montecito, in a massive, massive mansion. I mean, you can just about see the damn thing from space. It's huge. The property is absolutely beyond extravagant, but yet she's in Africa helping African children, educate them, bring them out of poverty, and all this wonderful stuff. The only reason she is doing that is because of the guilt that she has about how she's living. If Oprah Winfrey was really, truly an awakened being, she'd go, oh, I don't need all this because I'm comfortable in myself. But because she's so uncomfortable in herself, she has to help people outside of herself. She's constantly going outside. I have to help all these people with my money, instead of just going, I don't need all this money. I'm just going to give it all away, and I'm just going to live in a simple little, 1,200 square foot home. I'll give all that money to charities, and it can be dispersed, and it will go out into the world. That would actually do more for her cause than what she is actually doing. You see, when we see something that we don't like that's going on in the world, that is, as I said, it's a reflection. It's you mirroring what you don't like about your own life. You might have an issue with famines around the world. You look at how you're eating. What is it about your life that is causing you to focus in on that over there? Because whatever you're focusing in on is actually an issue that is inside of yourself. And like I said, I understand this mirroring. When I have people that get angry with me over no reason at all, that will go clean off at me, that have a hard time with me, that are constantly chastising me, verbally abusing me, or whatever, thank God I've come to understand that that is everything that they hate about themselves. So without this opposite, without this balance, without this, I call it the world of opposites. Without this opposite of everything, you wouldn't know who you are. You wouldn't know what you need to learn. You wouldn't know which direction you need to even go in. And when you actually start to see how this plays out into your life, like I know this stuff intrinsically now, so I can actually utilize these teachings, this knowledge of these teachings, to actually guide myself now and bring myself to places or positions that are actually fortuitous to my own personal well-being, to my own personal growth, or being able to move forward in this world. And if I do get frustrated with people, if I do get angry with people, if I do get upset with a situation, instead of focusing in on it, I immediately go inside of myself and go, okay, what is it about this thing, this situation, this person that I need to learn from? Because as I said, without them being there, I wouldn't be able to learn who I am. I wouldn't be able to understand who I am. I wouldn't be able to grow as a human being. And this is one of those fundamental laws, one of those fundamental rules that we have to live by here on this planet, in this realm. And here's the thing, the reason why the majority of spiritual teachers, gurus, even, you're definitely not going to learn this stuff from priests and churches or anything like that. The fundamental reason why you're not taught this stuff is they're playing on your sensibilities. They all know that you want this perfect utopian world. Well, if it was a perfect utopian world, you wouldn't learn anything. If it was a perfect utopian world, you wouldn't grow. You wouldn't be able to develop who you are as a human being. So these individuals play on those sensibilities. They play on the fact that you want this utopian life, that you think it should be all like hum, ding, ah. It's never going to be that way because you won't grow. Modern day spirituality, in all sincerity, is a mechanism of escape. It's no different to drinking alcohol. It's no different to doing drugs or anything like that. And you'll see that the majority of these gurus, these yogis, these spiritual teachers, all these masters of something, the majority of their audience are young people, the idealists, these people that can be easily led into believing that your life is going to be tranquil utopia if you do X, Y, and Z. These individuals play on your idealisms, your idealistic view of the world, your naivety to how everything works. The world is not ever going to be a utopia. And when you can actually understand this, like this fundamental rule of balance, the world of opposites as I call it, you will see the love in it. You will see the divine design. You'll see the absolute genius in it. And it's amazing when you see it actually working. I utilize it all the time in my life now. So, again, if you've got any questions, you're more than welcome to shoot them down in the comments section. And I can even go deeper into this subject. So, till the next video, take it easy, everyone. Cheers.